And while I agree with Hollis and many others who believe that the changes we made were very critical, I do want to acknowledge a downside for such a dramatic and rapid change in the US healthcare system. In general, in healthcare, we move slowly and iteratively. A new technology is introduced. We try it a little bit, then we do another randomized controlled trial and we see how it works. We adapt and we slowly move. It's a frustrating pace of change, but collectively knowledge builds and we move, I think, in the right direction typically. When it comes to telehealth, we made the changes like that. And so we're still playing catch up and still trying to figure out what's its impact. And certainly, I want to emphasize that it had a very strong positive impact, many positive impacts, but there are a lot of still unknowns. For example, when we ask physicians, what do you think of this telehealth thing? Do you want to continue doing it? They're like, it was great, but I don't know, like, does it work for everything? What are the areas and places where it's working? And maybe most importantly, where is this not appropriate? I don't know, I haven't figured that out yet. The spending issue is a really critical one. All this expansion of telehealth, there's really, I think, appropriate concerns that it's going to lead to increased healthcare spending. That's a big problem in the US healthcare system. Where do we see it having a positive benefit? Where do we see potentially no effect? And if so, let's curb that. How do we introduce some checks and balances there? And access. Who is receiving this care? And how do we ensure that all Americans have access to this? For example, we already have in the United States a strong rural-urban disparity. People in rural communities don't get the same level of care that people in urban areas do. And we're starting to see with some of the evidence that telehealth use in rural communities is much lower than in urban areas. We don't want to widen that disparity. So those are just some examples of all these really fundamental questions that we still don't have the answer for. And so as we move forward, right now, my sense, and I think it's reflected in a lot of legislation, either draft or passed in different states, is that telehealth is here to stay. But with that gap in knowledge, I think what's going to happen is not permanent changes right away, but rather continued temporary extensions of the current policies so that we have a period of time to accumulate that collective knowledge that we need.